Welcome to another episode of the Business Everyday Show. I am your host, Jonathan Wilms, and today in the studio we have a revisit from episode 2. So I'm going to stop you right now that if you have not listened to our second episode with our very own Matt Wimpelberg, LD, you need to go back and listen to that episode before we even go anywhere from here. Right, Matt? Like we stop them here.
Yeah, stop. If you still hear me, you're doing the wrong thing.
You're doing the wrong. Just stop and go back to episode number 2 and then come back to this very point, okay? Break. All right.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. It was such a great episode. But
right, yeah. Now that we've wrapped this up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Matt, that was a year ago.
That was, yeah.
2024, that was February of 2024.
Yeah.
It is now not February 25.
It's beginning of March.
It's beginning of March. We missed it by a little bit, but
we'll get it
been a
next
year, my friend, where we talked about your start in becoming a lighting director, becoming a renter of your own lighting equipment. We talked about like your background in music. I even listened to the episode on the way down just to refresh myself. I listened to it last week too, and I was just like, man, wow, that was a year ago.
Yeah.
What have we done? Hopefully audio sound has increased. We've improved here. Editing's gotten better. Like we're all growing. It's all good. But my friend, what are some highlights in what you've done in your business and your career over these last 12 months? And just give us the update and we'll see where today's conversation goes.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of my practices have begun to change they changed almost pretty soon after that episode, but it just comes naturally with the learning of how to manage yourself, how to manage your business and continue the growth from there. I've had a ton of rentals, a ton of referrals. I've actually got a tour that's out right now with some of my own equipment and my programming. I individually...
We talked about this over lunch today, and I'm so excited to get into that again. I'm just like how you've created this almost like proprietary product that's not proprietary, but it feels that way because it's so freaking genius. Like, yes, keep going. Like just foreshadowing. You want to stay tuned for this.
Yeah. And then, like me individually in my career field, I've also been able to get on programming with certain tours, as well as that's actually one of those tours. It was the Awakening tour, I think it was called. It was the Casting Crowns tour. So I was actually in the programming, in 2 programs, for 3 of the openers. 2 of them were on the smaller B stage in the middle of the arena, and then one of the artists, his name is Mac Powell, originally from Third Day, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
He was on main stage, and so I was able to program this giant arena tour set list. It was about a 25-30 minute set list, and just like getting myself into places that I only dreamt of. Now, I didn't go out with that tour, but getting to see videos of other people in the crowd posting videos and seeing my work that's out there, it's just like it's surreal. And then now getting to see like with this tour that's currently out right now, getting to see not only that it's my work, but it's also my equipment that's driving it all. It's become like a mix of surreal and also like this is exactly what I knew I was going to be stepping into.
Right.
So I mean, don't get me wrong, I still hit the pinch me moments. I like to feel them, especially I've also got my home venue here in town, and I've gotten to, I'm not going to name names, but I've gotten to work with some people that just
Do you have an NDA?
No.
Okay, I was just curious. Like,
maybe if I could just go down a list, kind of.
If you want to, take
kind
it.
of.
Kind of. Like, I mean,
I ran a rental and some of the house side of the production elements of things for Post Malone's private album release party that he had here in Nashville. Most recently, I actually unknowingly, as far as like in preparation for it, I didn't know I was going to be doing this until I was asked, "Hey, we need you to do this," or not. I shouldn't say asked, but kind of.
You're on contract. Go do this.
Yeah, thrown into it. Ended up doing some very, very, very small lighting stuff for Bon Jovi. just a few weeks ago. Um, we'll see what comes of that as far as
Sure.
his career and my involvement there. But
Who knows?
right. Yeah, I mean, it's just been it's been, and like I said, being able to program for some of these arena tours, like I've done an arena tour before. It wasn't necessarily for a big rock band or anything like
Mhm.
that, but like I've done it, so I know what kind of work it takes to build
Right.
that type of stage and production element.
Mhm.
But now in that instance, being able to be brought in as just a programmer, the cool thing is we were actually in basically a giant sound stage. We were in a
Okay.
giant rehearsal space where they actually had the arena-sized rig flying. Everything was up in the air like it would be in an
Right.
arena. They had a
Right.
stage built, all that was done, and, getting to see some of that work come to fruition and also be like, okay, we want you because we want you for your brain. We want you for the knowledge you have of how to do this. We don't want you to just click next or click go and be the operator for this show. We want you to actually put the puzzle pieces together. That way, whether it's you or somebody else,
Mhm.
they can click through, they can hit go, they can hit whatever button it is that actually drives the show, and then
Man.
it's all of my creativity that gets output to thousands of people either per day or per week or whatever the scenario is.
Yeah.
It's just it's a mix of surreal and also this is exactly what I was working towards.
Has it met the expectation of dream versus reality of this is what I thought it was going to be like, and then like, oh man, this is what it's really like? How are those things similar? Are they just completely different planets? Like, are
I would say the dream to mix a dream to reality mix.
Mhm.
um I think I saw more of the dream side, but I didn't try to attach that to, okay, this is what this will look like,
Okay.
right? So I knew where I wanted to go. I knew the things I wanted to do, what I wanted to be involved in, all that stuff. But like, I didn't lock into, okay, I'm pretty sure when I'm doing this thing, this is exactly what it'll look like. And I
Mhm.
feel like I can't say I did that intentionally. I just don't
Right.
think I put mental effort into directly attaching a what I don't know at the time to what I think I will know then.
Mhm.
Um, luckily, I feel like that has also spared me in a lot of those instances where it's like, okay, this is not what I was expecting, and
Oh, the
sometimes
disappointment factor of
well, some disappointment, some also just like, okay, there's more of me being asked for to do X, Y, and Z than maybe I would have thought of,
right.
but I haven't directly attached like, okay, well, if you're only asking me to do this, like the thought isn't locking me out of certain action, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, like having the willingness to do a little bit more, be a little bit more or less involved, or you know be able to just meet people in the middle of what it is that they need as compared to what I
Right.
can provide. I feel like if I had done more in locking myself into the concept of, okay, this is exactly what this is going to look like, I feel like I would have upset myself
Hmm.
pretty bad just because
Yeah.
you don't know what you don't know until you know it. Um, I well,
Right.
yeah, and you know, yeah, like I said, I just think it's kind of spared me to where I've also been able to be a little more have a little bit more of a humble approach with people, whether they're super professional, as far as like career and their own accomplishments, compared to other people that maybe not haven't gotten as far as some other people, and finding ways where when I'm being asked for certain things from them, it's
Mhm.
not so much a, well, you haven't done this, and I feel like it should be like this, so I'm not going to listen to X, Y, or Z. It's just like every connection that you make can make or break the next one as well.
Mhm.
So, it's been an interesting thing learning how deep the networking game can really go.
Right.
Especially, I mean, everything I do is freelance work.
Mhm.
Even my business stuff. I mean, it's all either based on referral or me getting in front of them, and
Right.
then I get I get I invoice a client for a gig or for an event or for a tour, and then when that's done, it's done.
Mhm.
Being able to carry on that relationship, being able to carry on that business relationship a lot of times also requires me to be able to carry on a personal relationship
Right.
because there's the old adage of no one will remember what you say, but they'll remember how you make them feel.
Yep.
I mean, it quite literally translates over to this as
It's
well.
amazing how much content out of books is actually correct.
Yeah, it's wild. But yeah, just realizing that there's a lot of ego that needs to be put to the side.
Hmm.
And that, again, that's where whether you're working with people that really know what they're doing or really don't, you don't know how connected they might be.
Right.
Whether you think they're deserving of it or not, you got to put all that extra thinking aside and be like,
Yep.
okay, here's what my job is.
Mm-hmm.
In certain instances, okay, I'm also being asked to do this or this or this.
Right.
And sometimes those are daunting because now you start to stack certain duties and responsibilities. And you're like, okay, this is getting, this is quickly approaching to more than I'm being paid for.
Right.
However, a lot of times too, if you make that good impression, even doing those extra things, sometimes those can get noticed. So
other doors will open.
Yeah. So, I mean, all around, it's just been like reality, having not had a pre-established thought of what reality would be,
Mm-hmm.
I think has helped me to both shape that and also just be prepared for the future unknowns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like, do you know number-wise, like how many shows or tours that you did in 2024?
Oh, goodness.
Because where you started in our last conversation was you started your LLC in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
You started, you got some equipment, you invested some time and some money into that. You started doing this and you're like, okay, I'm going from my full-time Army job to now I'm going to be doing this full-time. And I was going from like 5 or so shows a month to when you went quote unquote full-time, you were getting like 10 to 15 shows a month. And like, where are you at now?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely still ranges depending on the month we're in, or so many factors. Like I've still got a personal life. I'm still Army Reserve, so like there are certain requirements that I need to be able to keep up with. Luckily, though, I do have a little bit of leniency with being able to keep up my lighting career and also maintain my Army stuff, and those worlds not clashing too hard, it really ranges. I mean, it's I think this month is maybe 7 shows that I'm working. However, I also did the tour that's out right now with some of my equipment and my programming. I was on their first 3 shows with them. Now, a lot of that system, which we'll get into in a little bit, is there's a ton of automated stuff. It's very set it and forget it type of programming. So I was present, but I didn't have to be active as an LD, right?
Right.
So sure, we could maybe add those 3, so maybe 10, possibly 11 this month. I mean, it really ranges, but like on a tour, like last year, I was out with a Christian metal band named Demon Hunter. I think in 19 days we did 17 shows.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, we were busing to every city.
Wow, and you're having to break down and rebuild. Every day.
I mean, luckily there, I was surrounded by incredible people. Like all the guys, like everybody helps each other. One person's isn't done until everybody's done. Like it was very
group effort.
Yes, very group effort. Very much a group effort. So 17 shows with 2 off days kind of spaced apart. I mean, while that does sound daunting, we would normally start our day either like 10 or 11. I think some days were like 12, like noon.
Yeah.
And then then those we would be done by 11 or 11:30 that night. So I mean, and plus too, like all my full scope of responsibility for that is just lighting. I've got no home life at that point. Like my parents are watching my dog, so I don't have to think about, okay, I got to get back and feed him, and I got to worry about my dinner. Even for food stuff, a lot of times, a lot of that food was either catered in, or we, as a group, would be like, okay, we're gonna either go to this place or order from this place. Like there's a lot a lot of the normal life monotonous stuff,
Just don't have to,
routine stuff is just
don't
kind
think
of
about.
you don't have to.
You're sleeping on a bus.
Yeah.
It's going to get where you need to get. You don't have to think about where that is.
Yep.
You just get off the bus. You're in a new place.
There were some times where it was just like maybe we would have a little bit of a longer night. We'd be hanging out in the front lounge of the bus for till like 1 or 2 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew the next day we'd be going in at 11. Well, I would set my alarm for 10:45 because I knew I just needed that 15 minutes to, throw my clothes on, throw my shoes on,
Mm-hmm.
make a quick cup of coffee, and then I can go inside and get ready to load in.
Yeah.
So yes, like I said, 17 shows out of 19 total days. I can understand on the surface how it looks or how it appears daunting, but it's actually very manageable, and it's
Mm-hmm.
actually it's very, your days are, besides being in different venues and working with different house people,
Sure.
or different people around the city or whatever it is, your days are kind of rinse and repeat.
Gotcha. I pack it up, I
Mhm.
unpack it. I pack it up, I unpack it. I run the show and
Yeah.
then pack it. Yeah.
There is a consistent predictability that you can kind of expect throughout the days. Some days you get like the very random, this stage is significantly smaller than we were expecting, and so maybe part of the rig gets cut out. And then I've got to program some stuff that way it doesn't look like we're missing part of the show, or the new room that we're in has a ton of fixtures that are flown in the above their stage that we didn't bring in, but now I want to be able to use them. So now I've got to be able to it's called cloning. I'm not going to try and get too far into the details of that, but like basically be able to match the programming that is in our file to work with the house provided fixtures.
Okay.
So sometimes that's really easy. Sometimes it's a little more complicated. So like there are variables throughout the day, but a lot of it is pretty rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
So, but like we were talking about show numbers, those ones definitely spike the numbers for a month. So oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, what are some of your top highlight experiences show-wise in 2024? Just a couple. Like,
yeah. Let's see. I got to work. I was basically just babysitting, because I was the house lighting representative, for my
such a big title for babysitter.
Right, yeah. I was basically, just there to make sure nothing went wrong with anything with the house, fixtures or anything like that. But I got to watch live within 100 feet of them, Nickelback and Hardy. They did it was called CMT Crossroads, where basically they take a country artist and then an artist of another genre or band of another genre, and they do like this pair up. And so they're playing each other's songs, they're singing each other's songs.
So cool.
It was, and again, I'm 100 feet from them, and I'm just, Nickelback is, they're Nickelback, so it's like watching just this legendary group play. And then Hardy he's a country artist. He started to dive a little bit into more of the rock scene, and he's been on a major rise. He's definitely getting up there, as far as like just general musician and artist popularity.
Right.
Getting to watch these two different mindsets perform each other's stuff, it was just like it was so cool. It was so cool. That, and
you
even
didn't just get to go, you got to be
I got to experience it. Yeah. Like I said, that Post Malone private album release party, that was super fun, just because when else do you just work with or nearby Post Malone? It's just the situations and opportunities I've found myself in, even with like the Bon Jovi stuff, like it. When else would like
would I experience this?
Yeah, or like what other career field? There are some others,
sure,
but of that small handful, like what other career field just happens to stumble upon doing something for a big name artist or big name band or anything like that? It's just like
it's very limited.
It's wild.
Yeah.
And then I think one of my other favorite events that happened, it was actually one of our off days on that Demon Hunter tour. We had an off day technically we were in New Jersey, but we went into New York City, and we started off the morning. The four of us got together. We knew we wanted to go over and see the Statue of Liberty. None of us had been to the island, so we're
Sure.
like, let's just go do that with some of our day. So we met up at the front lobby of our hotel, and I'm horrible with names. But the guy that plays Shooter McGavin in Happy Gilmore, he just pulls up in his car.
Oh gosh, let me think.
Right?
Yeah. Some audience, who who we're talking about.
I mean, it's more likely that people remember him as Shooter McGavin,
Right.
honestly. But he just happens to be pulling up because, where our hotel was, we were just down the street from MetLife Stadium, where I think it was the Bills and the Giants were playing that day.
Oh,
and he was there.
Got it.
I think he was there for the Bills. If I'm wrong and somehow he heard this would be funny. He was there for one of the teams, so I'll just leave it at that.
50-50.
Yeah, one of the two. I can only be so wrong here. He was there for one of the teams. He had two other friends with him, and he passes by, and one of our guys that was going out with us, he happened to look through the windows, which weren't tinted either. You would have imagined
just complete 5% black tint.
Right, yeah. He was like, "Is that Shooter McGavin?" Like, he kind of said it a little bit quieter, but like still with that surprised voice. And we happened to look over, and one of the ladies that was there with him and his friends, she was like, "Yeah, it is," and we're all like, "That's so crazy." And then again, that guy was like, "Oh, I wonder if we can get a picture with him." And she happened to overhear that. Like, she was kind of further away too, but she happened to overhear that, and she was like, "Well, maybe he will. Maybe I'll see if he wants to." And sure enough, he gets out of the car, he meets up with his friends, and she kind of points over at us, and he comes walking over. He was like, "Hey guys, you want to get a picture?" And we're like, "Yes! Can we?" Like, this is what I'll show you the picture here in a little bit. But like, it was just like, again, the most random of things. And like with being out on a tour in a city that we happen to be stopping in that day at a certain hotel that we happen to be sleeping at that night, like the way some of the things line up. And again, I know there are many fields that this happens to as well, but in this one and how I've experienced it, there are just so many things that just happen.
That's probably the part of the thrill of the adventure of this industry, though.
Yeah.
Is like the amount of unknown that is possible.
Yeah.
And for some people, and some people in our audience, that is not their cup of tea. They want predictability.
Yeah.
I go in, I see Dave, and I know what Dave has for breakfast, lunch, and like everything we know about Dave.
Yeah.
And then other industries like, it's all new. I have no idea what city I am. I don't know what time zone I'm on, but I'm going to do my thing, and I love it.
Yeah.
And it's just different.
Yes.
And not good or bad. It's just
different.
Different. And that's really funny or fun to hear that you've had some of these like huge mountaintop experiences.
Yeah.
And even like you went to, is it Coachella?
Oh, Burning Man.
Burning Man.
Yes. That was another experience. I mean, it was
that's a different spectrum.
Yes. It's so I went there to work on the production side of one of the music camps, and like but it's not a music festival, it's not a tour, it's not like it's this giant art experience. Right. Like it's so like out there different. And for some people, like it's super cool. Like, don't get me wrong, like there were still many elements of it that were thoroughly enjoyable. And like some of the art out there is just like is wild. I remember there was one of the art, I guess exhibits that were out there. It was a giant it was probably 10 maybe 12 feet tall structure of road signs that were all stapled together and mounted together, and basically spelled out, "I'm fine." The catch with that is those road signs had all been like imported one way or another from Ukraine, most of which having bullet holes through them.
Wow.
So it was like it just, at first you see it at a distance and you're like, "Oh, I'm fine." Okay. But you start getting closer. And like, I mean, the moment you're 15 feet away, you really start to see the number of holes through these through the road signs. I'm not even
Yeah.
trying to bring this up for anything in that regard. It's just
Yeah.
like the style of creativity that some people bring there is just like I wouldn't have thought of
Hmm.
making some type of statement, whatever side, whatever, but using road signs with bullet holes in them,
Hmm.
and it's saying I'm fine. Like
Right.
it's just, but it was something that just it was so different, but it was an extremely cool thing to see.
Yeah.
The thought and the creativity of it.
Just the ultimate
And then
collide, the ultimate collision of creativity and music and
yeah,
oddity.
yeah, and even like some of the other art, quote unquote exhibits. There was one that demonstrates the speed of sound. So basically, it was a bunch of these like arches that had like LED and whatnot inside
Yeah.
them, and I cannot remember specifically how far these arches went, but it was like one arch followed by another arch, and they're maybe like 8 feet tall, 8 feet wide. You could walk underneath them and all that, and the LED tape that all like lights up inside. But basically, I think it was technically a music camp. I could be wrong there, but one way or another, they were playing music on one side, and basically that LED, it shows the audible wavelength or audible waves moving down these arches.
Oh, that's
So if you're
wild.
watching it from the side, you actually see like, it'll flash white or, something as the speed of sound is moving from the source point to the destination point,
Yeah.
or I guess the end of the arches. And so just seeing that, or if you got to the destination side of it and you're watching, let's say there's a really hard, thump, like
Yeah.
sound, like bassy sound, you would see the do-do-do-do-do-do as it got closer, but then when that light got to you, so did the sound.
Yeah.
And so just like relating the two together and realizing, oh, this like I've heard about speed of sound. I've
To visualize it come towards you, like, that's wild.
crazy. There was another one that was it was actually speed of light. So there was nothing musical about it, at least not that I noticed. But for about a half mile, it was just basically strobe lights that were going down in a line. So it'd be one, then one, but of course much faster. Those strobes were actually there to signify the speed of the rotation of the Earth. So I apologize, I actually misspoke. It wasn't for the speed of light. It was for the speed of the rotation of the Earth.
Oh, goodness. That's
Like
just different.
Yeah.
I man.
So you're watching. I think at the equator, it's like, was it 800 miles an hour, roughly somewhere around there?
No idea.
I think Neil deGrasse Tyson said something about that at one point. I don't know. Check me on it
We'll
later.
get him on the show sometime. We'll ask.
But like, yeah, it was something they had much further out. You really only could see it at night. But it's just something that just kept going, and you're just watching it. And by the time you knew like what it was that it was representing, you're just like, we're moving fast.
Yeah, right.
It's just a random thought that you would have because you noticed something. You're like, that's crazy. Like
we're really moving here.
We're moving. Like I've never been at a show and thought, I wonder how fast I'm moving, on this earth, but then you're at this place, and one of the things available to see there is showing you how fast we're moving,
right?
How fast the Earth is rotating. I don't know. All in all, it's a very interesting experience about, especially pertaining to certain, let's see, I wouldn't say types of people, but the certain things that certain types of people enjoy, right? I think that's as far into that as I'll go before I dig myself into a hole.
Sure.
It was both really neat. It was also, if you're not into that very specific type of personality, it can come across as strange. However, I did enjoy my time there. I'd made a ton of good friends.
Yep.
Some of them I still see to this day. And it was quite the experience, especially being covered in all that. It's playa there. It's basically the sand. It's just so fine that you think beach sand can get everywhere. Well, playa can get
You're still
everywhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah. it can really get on you. But
do you plan?
Yeah.
So that's kind of like, wow, 2024. There were tours, there were festivals, there were shows, there were one-offs,
Yeah.
there were these wild and crazy experiences.
Yeah.
Are you hoping to increase that, diversify that, change that, replicate that in 2025? Like what is your vision from what you were able to produce, which is incredible, to
Bless you.
what you were able to produce is incredible.
Yeah.
And what you're hoping to replicate or then produce in this year. Is it similar? Did your goals like, man, I experienced that, now I want to do something completely different, like we're gonna only focus in on this area, or did it just like, no, this is exactly the same track, we're just trying to get more shows and more different shows?
So I think I can answer that best by clarifying some of the changes that I chose to make after we did our last podcast.
Yes, because you've decided to change how you brand and the direction of Firebreak and the brand of Matt, and like, why don't you give me the broad overview of like how the brand has changed, and that'll kind of illuminate where we're headed in 25.
Yeah. So I on the last podcast, of course, this is business every day, so we're talking about the business side of things, but there are many fields that are the same, but I started to realize it specifically in mine, where having a business does not mean that you are just available to do business for people, right?
Right.
I mean, most businesses will know, of course, you've got to find a way to advertise. You got to make connections and relationships, and people sometimes they need to know you before they know your company.
Sure.
I feel
it's
like
still relational, whether we like it to admit or not. Business is still, I'm going to go out on a limb and say 100% relational.
Yeah.
It starts from relationship.
Yeah. I think at the time that we did the last podcast, I feel like I knew that, but I don't feel like I was exercising that as much as I could have.
Okay.
Because definitely my presentation was more on the side of like, I would meet somebody, of course, hey, my name is Matt. What do you do? Well, I'm a lighting designer. I also own this company. Like I was very quick to introduce the company. And, it's not necessarily that was a bad thing, but I feel like I was trying to follow down the route of expressing what my company could do for you before I was trying to even, build that greater relationship with the other person.
Yeah. It's like, hi, how are you? I have a product that'll help you.
Yeah.
And that feels a little forced.
Yeah. And, I definitely, I like to think that I am a person that is capable of whether in the middle of conversation or post conversation, be able to reflect on exactly what it is I'm saying or how I'm portraying myself.
Yeah.
I like to think I'm semi-decent at that, at least. But I mean that to say, like, I would try to watch demeanor, and I'd try to be very deliberate with what words I was choosing. That way, if they brought up something that I knew for a fact my company could be helpful with, I would try to make that connection without it sounding forced. Be like, oh, no kidding. Like, I have some of these fixtures, or I worked in some of these places, or I'm capable of delivering
natural
wherever,
segues.
Yeah, finding those natural segues. But still, there wasn't enough of a relationship built for them to be like, you know what? I do want, because they're looking at me. They're not looking at the company. I can talk about my company all day long, but they're talking to me.
It's a personal reference. Like,
yes.
Even though it's your company and they're looking at you, it really comes across as a personal reference, which has to come out of relationship.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so after a little bit of time of kind of having what felt like the same conversation over and over again, with, different people, but trying to get to the same end point, I just started to realize, I was like, a lot of times people are coming to talk to me because they want to talk to me, or I'm going to talk to people because I have personal interest in whatever it is that they do, whether they're an artist or they're a production manager with a certain group or whatever.
Right.
I started to kind of, I wouldn't say dissociate, but I would like, my company didn't need to be so far in ahead of the entirety of the conversation.
Right.
Because building the relationship and them being able to understand, okay, this individual is capable of providing X, Y, and Z. They can program, they can operate, they can time code, they can do all this stuff.
Right.
To where then it's I individually have an appeal. Right.
It feels like that same model that many YouTube creators follow, where they build personal brands first and then they promote, a new CPG brand that they created.
Yes.
But if they just started with product first and just tried to shove that down your throat, you're like, what the heck, dude? I don't care about your snacks or your drinks.
Right. Well,
but it's like out of relationship, like, oh, I've been following you for a decade.
Yeah.
Of course I want your drinks and snacks, because if I'm going to buy them anyway, you have a really cool product. I like you.
Yeah.
I'm going to buy your stuff.
Yeah. Well, but I feel like a lot of that mentality just, some people will grasp it sooner than others.
Yeah.
I think that just took its time with me, just because like I was still discovering my like professional maturity and finding the best way to actually naturally have those approaches of, oh, well, I also own this company. Once I have in their eyes, once I have the appeal of the things that they're looking for or could be useful for in the future, then it's like, okay, well, I can sweeten this deal for you. I also have this company. I also have these fixtures. I also have, transportation, like all this stuff that could be beneficial to you. And again, because like I'm able to incorporate myself in multiple facets between myself as an individual, as a professional, and then also myself as a business owner. Because I have control over the business, I'm also able to choose how I handle the business with those people. Now, of course, like you got to make money at the end of the day,
right?
But like
you can make it customized based upon like their needs.
Yeah.
And you can deal with it case by case basis because you are the owner.
Yeah. If the budget, if the difference of $200 is the make or break for us doing a deal,
right?
I would rather build a professional relationship with you,
right?
Whether it be myself as an individual or myself as a business. I would rather have that with you because, number one, of course, the intent is to continue to grow both that artist or a group or whatever, and then of course me as well.
Right. But you can make that decision personally of saying like, hey, I'm going to break even on this deal because the investment of the relationship is very important to me.
Yeah.
Versus like, I just need to make a couple of bucks here and make my bottom line, and then I'll keep going. Like that's to be able to reorient that decision making and that who comes first. Yeah.
And also like, of course, you may not want to put, all your business out there as far as like, okay, well, this is going to make me break even. But like, maybe you don't have that conversation. But like, if they, let's say you're working through a contract, you're trying to figure out the bottom line, you're trying to work out all that stuff. If they feel like you are deliberately trying to make it work because you care about the project more than you do the income, a lot of times that will not only, of course, help the contract, close, but also be able to thwart future good relationship opportunities, moving forward.
Right.
Because if people feel like you care about the same project that they are working on, they're more likely to continue to want to work with you because in some facet you've told them that you care. Well, I think that's one of the biggest things. I think that's one of the biggest things that like I started to realize was like why I started to I waited a little bit longer in conversation to bring up business stuff is because I realized like I want them to see not only am I serious about what I do as a LD, as a professional, all that stuff, but if you're talking to me in a way that's you're looking for my potential involvement and I am interested, I want to make sure that you know that I am interested because it puts us both on the same sheet of music faster.
Right. I'm committed to the project. You've seen my work and my effort to it. I'm not just trying to sell you something. I'm here to see it come to fruition.
Yep.
But I also have this, and that, and that.
Yeah.
Like, it's a both and.
Well, again, with the approach of, and to make this deal sweeter, to I can do you one better, whatever like way you want to approach it.
Right.
Just always being like, well, hey, I mean, since we're talking about this, I've got something else that could really help. Now, at that point, I've already built some level of trust.
Right.
So now if I'm introducing something new, they're like, okay, like, this could be super helpful, not just I'm someone soliciting.
Yeah, it's
my
not new on
business.
top of new on top of
Yeah.
new. It's
Yeah.
well, and also it shows, like you were talking about, people don't care until you know how much you care. When they see your effort that you put in, is like, oh man, if he's this diligent with his actual work and I like you, then I imagine his product is really good, his service is really good in other areas. But there's also there's something I've experienced with many other people doing my side projects and hustle stuff like that, is people want to see me win.
Yeah.
And when I show up and I provide a good product, I show up and I provide a good service, people want to see me win more.
Yeah.
And when I can then provide the more, people are like, yeah, of course, Jonathan, we want you to get the business here.
Yeah.
And we want to see you win. It's like, I want to help you win.
Yeah.
You're helping me get to where I want to go, but I want to help you get to where you want to go, because this looks really cool for you.
Yeah. There is a lot of that. And luckily I'm working with a lot of those types of people now.
Yeah.
But I've also come across my share of that kind of dog eat dog nature, where it's like, oh no, I want the gig, for whatever reason, like, and it's difficult because, like, I definitely would rather take the approach of the general capability of being acquaintances, at least,
Sure.
with as many people as possible, because those connections can take you far. So I do my best to try to not feed into the dog eat dog mentality.
There's plenty to go around.
Yeah, but like, when I come across it, it's just kind of like, at this point, especially because I look at things more on a business side, even for myself, I in ways, and moving forward probably later this year, am trying to initiate myself as a business, maybe not as Firebreak, like as an individual, that is.
Right. First and foremost, I am a worker who does an incredible job at being an LD and creating productions, and I'm an awesome team member. We have good vibe, like all that other stuff. And I have this other thing that could really help us do what we do even better.
Yeah.
Versus take my product and I'll service your product really well.
Yeah. Well, even like with the exposure of other people that have more that dog eat dog approach, where they're like I actually came across this not too long ago, where somebody was like, they were saying, well, hey, whenever you're looking for more, feel free to come on over to our business. And I'm like they were referencing that from the equipment that I was renting to somebody. The difficult part is definitely like interpretation.
Sure.
So I felt a little slighted at that, thinking, like, trying to say that, because they'd never heard of my company before, and so have the majority of other people. Like, I get that. I'm humble enough to realize, like, not everybody knows who Firebreak is, like, or may ever know who Firebreak is.
But our audience knows who Firebreak is.
Yeah, yeah. But like, I felt a little slighted, because it's like, you don't even know who I am or what my company has or is capable of or anything like that.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, if I play into if my understanding of what he was getting at, if it was a little bit of a slight, if I started to play into it, and we start doing this back and forth, that gets neither one of us anywhere, and that ends up making my company look bad.
Yep.
So it's the part of when you are a professional, or at least you want to portray being a professional, you've just got to let things slide sometimes, even if you don't want to. But like, that statement also made me want to like grow more. So also being able, handling yourself appropriately, but also like taking some of that fuel of whatever feeling that you're feeling and reassociating it with something that's beneficial. So like I know I want to grow as a company. I want more people to know this name. It won't be everybody, but of the people that do know it, I want them to remember it as, okay, they are solid. They've got great programmers. They've got a great owner. Like, and again, that boils back down to having the good relationships where even if I do come across somebody that is like thinking, you know, oh, Firebreak is nothing.
Right.
There's other people around. They're like, no, they do great business.
They did this show. It was incredible.
Yeah.
They responded well. We always got good hardware.
Yeah.
Like,
or even like if I am, you know, eventually I'm sure I'll be able to, I'll have to kind of grow away from being able to have a relationship with every single client. But for right now, I'm going to have a relationship with every single client.
right.
Because if there's ever the opportunity for me to come back, they're back to the adage, they're going to remember how I made them feel, not just what I said.
Well, they're going to remember you and your name.
Yeah.
Not necessarily your company.
Yeah.
I mean, like, they'll remember your company, which is, you know, what you would hope for eventually is that your name gets out there, your company name gets out there enough to where they don't have to associate you and your company every single time.
Sure.
But
yeah.
at least for these first few years, most likely, it's going to be like, oh, I know Matt. He's really freaking awesome. He's got this company, da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
And it's a segue conversation more than isolated on both ends.
Yeah. Yeah. So all that packed up
Mm-hmm.
to how I'm taking all of this, back to the original question from like, what, 20 minutes ago now?
Okay, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. To kind of sum all that up from what I've learned, how I managed it all 2024 going to 2025, is, you know, begin with creating good relationships with people. Like, you know, this tour that's out right now with my equipment and my programming.
Can we just go there? Like, let's just go there all the way. Like, I want to.
Okay.
This is the product.
Okay,
like we mentioned this at the beginning. Like, you're just segueing for me. Like,
yeah, I guess. I'll say the part I was going to say first.
Go for it.
And then we can dive.
And then we can go.
And then I'll answer the 2025 stuff, and then we'll dig into it.
Yeah.
Is that all right?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
I mean, I asked like 3 questions, and we didn't answer any of them. So let's. Yeah.
Oh no.
We'll start.
Oh man. So again, with like another representation of how building that relationship first really dives into, or can open more doors for, oh hey, also, you know, and so on. The people that are out right now, her name, the artist's name is Jessica Bayo. Her and her husband Sam, they've been on social media for years. I think it's Sam and Jess Official is their name on YouTube and TikTok and all that stuff.
I think I've seen their stuff.
I mean, they've been full time for 5 years, so it's definitely possible.
I feel like that name is just hitting me. I'm like,
they're like 23. They live just north of Salt Lake City.
Okay, I've definitely seen their stuff then.
Yeah. I mean, they're great. They also they start out a bunch of prank videos, and they just do the couples content basically.
I got you.
How it got explained to me, because I didn't know those words until I met them. So,
different industries that we didn't even know existed.
Yeah. Well, so how that entire relationship started was I was actually working at my home venue one night at Marathon, for a show, and you know I had to run the lighting for I think it was like 1 or 2 openers, and then the headliner was going on. And so headliner's up there. I'm just kind of hanging out by the lighting desk, but the headliner, she had her own LD who operated all the lighting for her segment of the night. So I was just, at that point, I'm in babysit mode.
As long as it doesn't break, I don't have anything to do.
Right, yeah. So I just happened to like look to my right, and I don't know how they got their invitation into the front of house area. Maybe it's just simply because they are who they are, or at least people recognize them or something.
Right.
One way or another, they were kind of standing on the stairs that kind of lead up to this little loft area, and yeah, they were directly to my right, and I'm like, whoa, that's Sam and Jess. Like I was like, I should go say hi, and then I was like, nah, I don't want to bug them. They're not here to see me, you know? And,
And they might be. They heard about
well,
Firebreak.
yeah, yeah. Um, and then, I was contemplating. I was like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna go talk to him. And, so I said, hey, what, good to see you guys here. I know you guys don't live here, just like what are
Mhm.
you guys doing in town? And, Jess had said that she was working on some music stuff at a studio in town. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I know you just had a tour last year. You were a direct support for another headliner last year. Like, how's all that going? And she was
Hmm.
like, it's going great. We're actually like kind of gearing up towards having my first headline tour. I was like, oh,
That's
that's
awesome.
crazy. That's awesome. Because like I said, I'd seen their stuff for years, but now I've seen her stuff on YouTube. I hadn't seen her as a performer for a while.
Right.
She had talked about it in some videos, but like, um, it's just uh, I didn't. I knew that she did that. I hadn't put that
Right.
together in my head.
Right.
Um, and so I was like, oh, that's great that it's going so well. I was like, well, I don't want to bother you guys. I know, like the same joke told to
Mhm.
myself. I was like, I know you guys aren't here to see me, but, for that tour, if you are looking for anyone that works in lighting, that's everything that I do. Like, program,
Right.
operate, all of it. She was like, "Oh, really? Well, tell you what, my manager is here. If you wanna talk with him about it, and then maybe y'all can exchange information." I was like,
Wow.
Yeah." So, her manager, Gus, great guy, probably one of the most, like professionally positive dudes
Hmm.
I've ever worked with,
Yeah.
at least thus far.
Yeah.
Just great dude. He came around the corner and I was like, he was like, "Hey, Matt." I was like, "Hey, Gus, how you doing?" And I basically told him the same conversation I had with her, and we exchanged information. And, I was like, "All right, you guys enjoy the rest of your night. I don't mean to bug you anymore." They're like, "Oh, you're fine." So I went back over to the console. The night was over, all that stuff. About 2 months goes by, and I saw that she had listed a tour announcement, and I'm like, "Oh, that's great." I haven't heard anything, but,
Mhm.
that's just how things go
Yep.
sometimes, and it's
You meet
okay.
people, it doesn't turn into
Yeah,
anything. You meet
yeah,
people, and all of a sudden
yeah. Well, about, like, 2 weeks after that, Gus, the manager, he texts me and says, "Hey, Matt, this is Gus with, Jessica Bio. Let's talk lighting soon." And so, we hopped on a few calls, we got together a few times, um,
that is
and it
crazy.
all just came together.
That's so
So
wild that a chance, and I don't know how many of these opportunities have come out of chance meetings or, boldness in conversation,
yeah,
but there's something to that where, um, if you didn't ask,
yeah,
you wouldn't have.
yep,
And it feels like sometimes such a daunting thing to just ask for what you want or what you need, or, but there is something truly beautiful. Is like, unless you say something,
mhm,
just being nice, "Hey, how are you? Hey, I recognize you," being a little bit of a fan, being whatever,
yeah,
you don't have any idea where it could lead to. And if you
exactly,
don't say anything and you just dismiss your own desires or your own ambitions or
yeah,
whatever, then you're just gonna, like, there is no opportunity there.
yeah, I had no intent of saying anything about lighting when meeting them. I mean, I literally, while I was there contemplating, I mean, for a whole 30 seconds,
Yeah.
it's not like I was contemplating my entire life on meeting these people, but, like, but it was just also the realization, like, they're here for a show, they're not here to talk to me, and I didn't wanna be a bother, I didn't wanna be, like, some kinda burden or
Sure,
anything,
sure.
like, make them feel like they did not enjoy, especially being there as an employee, pretty
Mhm.
much. I was like, I don't wanna be someone that makes them feel like
Yeah, there was
they
somebody
they
here at the
couldn't enjoy
theater
it.
that's just getting in my way.
Yeah, um, but, like, still, just, like, the natural flow of conversation, the whole, like, 3 or 4 minutes that it was, she got talking about her singing career, which be completely I wasn't even thinking about. I've known them for social media because of
Mhm.
social media for so long. Uh, it didn't trigger in my head that, "Oh, Jess sings,"
That to me is
you
so
know?
wild. The craziest thing about the internet. One of the people that I follow pretty regularly on YouTube
Mhm.
is two guys named Colin and Samir, and
Yeah, 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 yeah,
they interviewed again the founder and CEO of Patreon just
yeah,
not long ago,
yeah,
and like, I had no idea. I knew who he was, Jack. I know who he started Patreon, but I had no idea that he was so big in the music industry.
Is that right?
He has two.
I need to watch it. I
He has
saw it
two
get posted.
huge bands. One's called Pampamoose, and one
I've heard that name.
and one is called something else. I don't remember the other one, but
Yeah.
like, and I'm like, this mainline CEO, founder of a company, like he tours, and he does music, and I'm like, what a like. He is not only huge on YouTube, he has started this amazing company that is such in partnership with YouTube, and then he also goes on tour because he loves music, and just like the cross of all the different things is like, I mean, again, you don't know unless you ask for clarity, or it's like, whoa, I had no idea that you did this thing. I'm like being reintroduced to you as a brand. I'm like, the facets just continue, and it's so much more exciting. And like, even if you follow somebody for years and years and years, like you don't know that they do this and that and that. And I've taken that on as as almost a boldness principle. It was like, talk about like this podcast. Like I talk about this podcast because people don't just genuinely know, even though I know, I think about this every single day. I'm making content. I'm planning the next episode. I am immersed in the experience every single day, but probably still half the people in my immediate world have no idea that I have a business podcast. And that's my fault. For not promoting it more and talking about it more. But even in these, big social media people that they have millions and millions of people that follow them, they may or may not know that they are so well connected with this product or so well connected with this avenue of industry. And it's just like, to me, that's exciting and beautiful and awesome. And, you know, it speaks to, I think, even you and your business is like, you might have relationships for years and years and years as an LD. And then people find out just through natural connection that like, hey, did you know that Matt owns Firebreak? We've rented for them for years, but it's just never come up. Or like, to me, like that's the ultimate like satisfaction or flattery is if like someone hires my company or buys my product, buys my service, but have no idea it's from me. And then just like out of relationship, it's like, actually, I do own that website and we do this thing, and it's like, what? And like to me, that would be the best.
I mean, it was even bouncing back to the Burning Man stuff. One of the music camps, it was actually it was an art car is what it's called. It's this quite literally, it's a vehicle, it's a moving vehicle, but it was a stage. It was like this giant. I think it was called like Titanic's End. It was a giant like iceberg, but like the edges of like the ice were all done in like LED tape and whatnot. It was super cool stage. Turns out, I didn't know this until actually we were after Burning Man. The owner of Twitch runs that. He owns that camp.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I'm like, huh? It was one of those where it's like you see all these other art cars and stage like different things, and it's just like people who just enjoy art so much that they dump their life savings into this one thing, and it goes out for once a year. And then you have the owner of Twitch, and I mean their art car was pretty decked out, and it makes a lot more sense now why.
It's like, oh, he has a backer. Oh no, he is the backer.
He is the backer. But yeah, just like, you know, the way sometimes things can be connected on the back end. You know, and so the same deal where when I went up to talk to them, back to the
Sam and Jess.
Sam and Jess. When I went up to talk to them, I wasn't thinking at all. I knew she sung. She had done some videos about that. Him and her had done some videos about that in the past. But I was just seeing them for them, not as, oh, she's a performer. Maybe, you know, I could work something out.
Get a gig here.
It was just a general meeting. There's also been you know, other times where there was a show that came through. I think it was like this like metal rock show, maybe August of last year, something like that. Anyway, they actually had 2 LDs on that tour because it was like 10 bands. It was wild. They would change out. They'd play like 30-minute sets, then 45, then an hour.
Wow.
The drum sets are changing out at each, you know, 5-10 minute changeover. It was wild. Well, one of the guys, I ended up talking with him a good bit, got to know that he was very good with LED wall, of course, lighting. But just he was just very in it, you know. And so with the camp I worked with at Burning Man, I was actually able to get him plugged in with the team that we have now, because I wasn't able to be there for some of the. There's a new structure being built for our art piece, which we're actually now trying to tour around because it's a music based
That's so
thing,
cool.
and I wasn't able to be present for this build week or this tech week pretty much, and so I was like, hey Brian, here's what's going on, do you want to come out here, would you like to be involved? And just because I met him that one time and that impression that he gave to me, and enough of a trust where he also felt like if I'm getting him involved in something, that it's something that could benefit him.
Right.
I was able to get him involved, and now he's done a show with them, I think in Miami.
So now you are making the connections, not like...
Well, it's not so much that I switched roles. It was just because the same way that I try to approach people, where I'm like, let me build trust and just a generalized relationship with this person. Again, I remembered how he made me feel like I could work with this person.
Yeah.
So because of that, I was like, hey, I have faith that you could do this.
You could come through.
Do you want to come do this?
Yeah.
So the same principle. It's building that relationship. So when I had that conversation with Sam and Jess, she brought up her music stuff. I met Gus. I was like, I was very much like, hey, look, this is what I do. I think she's gonna be blown up. I mean, she is, and truly, she actually is right now. Of the last number I heard, which was about a week ago, across the entire 5-week tour, she is 88% sold out.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, that's the type of growth she's getting right now is like not super common.
That's very abnormal.
Yes. I would imagine too that number has grown, because you'll get your last minute buys in the cities that aren't sold out. So she's going places. I would never have been plugged in had I not just gone over to say hi, not even thinking about her being a performer,
right?
An artist, a singer, all that stuff. I mean, I'm sure glad I talked to them at this point, because I was able to work out. Here we can start to break into some of what I was able to provide for them. While she is growing rapidly right now, for this tour, they didn't really have the budget to be able to bring me out. Now, luckily, because of a conversation with Gus and a few that I had with her, as we were leading up to rehearsals and whatnot, I'd built the trust of, okay, what I can do for you is basically build a system that will run mostly by itself. You still got to lay out the fixtures and plug things in and connect the laptop. But like once you open the laptop and open the software, like you hit one button, which is kind of like your start show, and it runs by itself, right?
That's incredible that you were able to build something like that.
Well, it's because of the amount of time I've had in the software now. Well, I mean, like it's a combination of things. It's yes, the time I've had in the software, but also like the amount of time I've had experimenting with the software.
Well, not the just amount of shows that you've done.
Well, yeah. And like really trying to test the bounds of the software, trying to test the bounds of the time code, which basically is the same way like if you've ever made music and you see the playhead move across as you're playing tracks, or as tracks are playing, I should say. It's the same deal on my end. I see a playhead that moves across the time code, which is just a very disgusting computerized sound. It basically just it tells one computer to another where it is in time, right? So it'll tell you exactly what hour, minute, second, and frame in space, in time, you are at any given time.
That's wild.
It's funny how many times you say time
to
talk about time. Anyway, so the whole system, so I'll back up. Her husband is basically the one that's running all the light stuff. He's getting the fixtures out. He's getting them all plugged in.
Okay.
Getting the computer out, opening up the software.
Your
and hitting-
fixtures.
yes, mine.
So
yeah,
you
so I
through
got the rental.
Firebreak.
Yep.
Okay.
So I actually ran all elements of this through Firebreak, both my programming and the rental and all that. So he lays everything out. It's a very simple ground supported lighting package. The cabling is very simple. The data rack has everything he needs in it with, I think the most he uses is like 4 ports: power, an audio in, an audio out, and a DMX, the light signal.
Yeah.
So after he has all that set up, it's ready to go. So all my programming that I did in advance of the tour has, you go through the song, you see the lights do all the blinky flashy, all that stuff. At the very end of the song, it actually has like a little macro, like a little bit of code in there that automatically triggers the next song. That way, once the time code, back to that word, is playing for the next song, which is coming from the playback rig that the drummer is in control of. As soon as those two computers realize they're talking to each other again with this new song, it automatically hops in and controls the lights.
Right. So even if the artist starts talking and riffs off for a while, and there's a long spacing between, song 1, song 2, song 5, song 8, whatever, the drummer is in control of the back end rig, but through this automated process, back end computer talks into lighting computer, and everything is synced up.
Yeah. Yep. Everything stays synced. And then,
that's so cool.
Yeah. And to make it even better, one of the things I was able to add on top of that was I basically call it my audible cue system. So inside the lighting software that I currently use, they now allow you to add audio tracks in there. It's not an interface or a DAW, a digital audio workspace or anything like that. It's just you now can add those in there for just general playback, right? So what I did,
that's incredible.
So it gets better.
We're getting to
it. So what I did was basically, I did all the programming for my lights that are out with them, and I knew what the colors were. I knew the ebbs and flows of of each song and all that. So then I started to think through, okay, I know I'm not going out with them, so there won't be somebody there that can have control of the house lights. I don't just mean like the lights that are over the seats in the room or anything like that. I mean like the stage lights, all the extra wash and moving lights and the front light, what could actually light up Jess.
Everything that's not a part of your rig.
Exactly. I started thinking through, okay, how can I relay this information to a house LD since I won't be there in place of the house LD? I want them to have as close to the exact same show in every venue, in every city as possible, without myself or another LD that would be touring with them there with them.
Right.
So because they with how the budget was built out and everything, they knew that they were going to be using the house, whatever house LD was going to be in each city, in each venue. So I basically built this audible cue system where the same way I programmed lights, I basically just gave verbal commands, right? So it's literally a recording of my voice going through the song, and I'm telling them front light fade in, 1, 2, 3, 4, go. Of course, the 1, 2, 3, 4, go is in time,
right?
With I actually recorded it with the metronome playing in my ears. That way, I'm I am as locked in to the music itself as I could be.
How long did it take you to build this audio cue system?
For 21 songs, it was actually only about a half a day.
Okay.
So, luckily it wasn't bad because the count ins, the 1, 2, 3, 4, go, I can record that once and then copy paste that segment. I just got to make sure it's lined up with the track. All of the other commands really are the only ones that took the additional time, But I tried to break it down as simple as I could. Every LD has different experience levels and all that stuff. Some of them are super professional,
Yep.
and some of them that may be their first day on the console.
Right.
It's just sometimes that happens.
Uh-huh.
You don't have control of who's in control.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of funny. But I wanted to make it as simple as possible for the house LD to understand kind of what the feel of the song is, where we are in the song, what would be good to come in here with, and let's back down these. So I kind of broke it down to just front light, wash light, and moving light. Now, there in the intro track, there's about a minute, maybe a minute and a half where she's not singing at all. So I actually have it was a scripted dialogue. That way, my first thing is, "Hey, my name is Matt. I'm the designer and programmer for this show. On behalf of the entire JB Jessica Bio team, we appreciate you being here with us today to build this experience." And then I go into, here's how the stuff works out. This is how I'll give commands. It'll be the front fade in, wash light, 1 2 3 4 go.
Mm-hmm.
On the go is when you'll do whatever the command is. If you don't have something that I give a command for, it's okay. Either substitute with something else or just don't do anything at all.
Mm-hmm. We're here to enhance the show.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I wanted them to feel like they could really have some fun with it. However, not feel like they were the priority, like they were the main thing. I mean, all the programming I put in the ground package and all the lights that I rented to them, I put hits in there that are in time with the music. There's movements. There's all this stuff that are deliberately with the songs.
Right.
Majority of the LDs that they are going to come across have never heard her music before. I mean, more than likely. Like I said, she's growing very, very fast. But
that's a good point. I hadn't actually considered that you are, as an LD, even yourself as an LD, you're having to create experiences based upon music that you've maybe never even heard of.
Yep.
And so how do you do that, from a vibe or from and so honing in your craft into no, okay, these are principles that I follow.
Yeah.
And if I follow those guidelines, then I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
And then as I gain more experience, then, you're going to find the ebbs and flows of oh yeah, they're going here. We just all know that they're going here.
Well, it helps that I grew up being a musician.
That's right.
I understand structure. I understand song structure.
And your father has the audio engineering background and you've been exposed to that sphere. So oh yeah. So that all makes sense.
So, I mean, in most scenarios, I'd probably say 3/4 of the number of bands or artists that I come across, whether at Marathon or other places, typically song structures are the same from one band to another. They have an intro, they have a verse, they have a pre-chorus, they have a chorus, they have maybe a quick little interlude, and then they go into verse 2. It just there is typically a predictable flow.
Right.
Then there are some artists who, it's funny too, because as much as I enjoy doing rock and metal and alternative music a little bit more, sometimes they're actually just a little more difficult, because sometimes they actually try to go against the structure.
Right.
Or, you'll think we're doing this 4-count buildup and then doon, 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 and then we're going to hit, right? No, it's actually a 1 or 2 beat dropout.
Right.
And I just brought all the lights up thinking that, we just hit this big moment. So you'll literally watch the lights. I'll do it verbally. You'll see them go back out. You're like, what? I just built up for this big moment, and this wasn't even it. It's 2 beats from now,
right.
But it's just, that's how.
It's oh crap, correct.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll be, I'll be back there, and that'll happen. And I'm just like, dang it, I'm all upset, and they'll laugh. People will laugh at me. But the crazy part is, and this is something I didn't start out being able to feel better about this as much as I do now. The only ones who really are going to notice that stuff are production people.
Right.
It's going to be myself and maybe the 1 or 2 other LDs that happen, because of the town we're in.
Right.
That happen to be in the crowd.
Everyone else is like, oh, it was a fake drop. Oh, I'm so excited.
It was a fake out, or it was some, The hardest, the people that are going to be the hardest on myself are, well, number one, me, and then
Yeah.
probably number two, other LDs. But it's like I said, some of them are like, "Oh, that was funny. I totally was thinking the same thing," or some of them are like,
Right.
"You idiot," and they're on that dog eat dog side of things.
Mm.
So, but at the same time, it's just kind of like you just gotta, most of that music you're hearing for the first time, do your best.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And so that's where, with all the Audible Q stuff, I did my best to leave them as much room for them to feel like they are creating something as well, instead of
Right.
being controlled to do something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I told them, "Hey, you know, part of that intro track is any of the effects that I call out, don't feel like you have to do those exact ones. Just if you do something else, please make sure it follows the general feel of the song." So, you know, some of the commands later in are like fade in front light with a slow fading effect.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even that terminology, like, if someone said that to me, like, I would understand, but that terminology is different than how I think about it.
Right. Because every venue, every system is going to be
Yes.
coded differently, labeled different,
Yeah.
brought up differently, especially if you have an LD. I would imagine that, like, maybe they're the house LD and they've never done anything else.
Yeah.
Like, they might have their own language that is not industry standard, and you're just like, hey, get me the this, and that, and they're like, the what?
Yeah.
Like, we just call it the snake doohickey.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's where I was like, what's the most general format that I could state what it is I want somebody to do, with a slow fading effect, or with a medium speed circle effect, circle movement effect, or whatever, you know, like, and with those, I would, in those preparatory commands, I would add more time before I actually do the count in, the 1, 2, 3, 4, go.
Right.
That way, you know, if it is something that they've got to, oh, let me do this, they've got a little bit more time to do it.
That feels so revolutionary that you were able to create this time-coded audio cue track package.
Well,
like, is this industry standard, or are there other people doing this, or is this like completely a brainchild that you created, you've put together, and now it's like, it's gonna be big?
Yeah, I have only ever seen this done once. I wasn't even the LD for that show. I was actually it was a friend of mine that was the LD for that show. And I was just there because I wanted to see the headliner. I don't even remember what show it was.
Yeah.
But he came up to me afterwards and he was like, "Dude, this was amazing." Like, he was telling me how, like, I guess it was their bass player. I don't know if actually, let me back up for a second. I actually don't know if it was a pre-recorded thing, or if the bass player, because he said something about the bass player was telling him, "Hey, great job, man."
Oh, like he had a second mic, like a stage mic or something like that?
Yeah, like a talkback or something that only went to the
right.
LD.
It's like, hey, lights fading now.
I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's, part of me thinks it was recorded, just because, like, the way he was able to follow along, it definitely didn't, and how the bass player didn't just like disappear to go talk to a mic. It, you know, it definitely seemed like it was pre-recorded. So very similar to how I built this out. Probably the routing of how it was done was probably different. And there's, you know, this is Gen 1 of, or version 1 of me being able to do this. You know, I'm hoping to actually go out with the Jessica Biel crew on her next tour. Again, she's blowing up like crazy.
Right.
So, like, you know, she'll have a little bit more of a intricate ground package, and then she'll want, you know, the house lights, the stage lights above her to be able to actually be programmed in with her music.
Right.
That's where an LD comes in, because they are able to create that connectivity and you know, just add that much more to the show.
I'm thinking as a small artist or a small creator who is coming up with, you know, first time on tour or whatever. And like, and with Firebreak, you have these packages and it's like, hey, you want this many light bars, you want this many spinny things, you want this many, whatever.
Yeah, quite
like,
literally.
To be able to then provide with that, like, hey, I'm able to provide you a brain and a computer and like everything to basically, you hit go and it will create you the same show regardless if you have an LD or not.
Yeah.
Like, that feels like so incredible for a new artist to be able to know that exists.
Yeah.
So that they can go like, hey man, I don't have $100,000 to do my first tour.
Yeah.
Like I have this
don't?
very
What?
little, like, yeah, I have this very little budget.
Yeah.
I still want to provide an incredible visual experience to enhance the music that's going on.
Mhm.
I can't get a full-time LD to tour with us first time. What else you got?
Yeah.
And it sounds like, I mean, maybe I'm not that connected to the industry, but it sounds like to me, like you're creating something brand new to where you like, hey, I can send you a virtual LD.
Yeah.
An AI LD. It's not AI, but like you're.
Well, they have those and they're stealing jobs. So
Oh, well, there we go.
You know.
Stealing jobs. But you're able to create the virtual LD that is doing an incredible job.
Yeah.
I mean, and you're having to create on the back end, and it's still very labor intensive, and to be able to create it for a full set, like wow.
Yeah.
But whoa.
So of course, I mean, this is my first go at it.
Mhm.
And that's actually why, like I mentioned much earlier, why I was out with them for the first 3 shows.
Right.
Even though it was her husband that was, setting out all the lights, making all the connections, opening the computer, all that stuff. The intent was I am there in case something goes wrong.
Right.
Because I wanted to be there. They didn't ask me to. I wanted to be there.
Right.
There's a lot riding. There's potentially a lot riding on this,
Mhm.
right? And I think all things should be taken as seriously as another. Like all contracts.
Yeah, all
gig
opportunities.
Yep.
Yeah, everything, consider it to be level 10 important.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just, I mean, you can find ways to quantify how important something is later, but like given how this is meant to be ran by itself with no one on the crew that knows if something goes wrong, how to fix it.
Right.
Like, don't get me wrong, I put like an emergency stop macro in there that he could click and it'll stop everything. Like there are ways that, I made a very general UI user interface for him to be able to, make sure that the show file is loaded, save it at the end of the night, be able to hit ready for show that basically says, okay, we're ready to have a concert.
Mm-hmm.
How to test the lights after he gets them all plugged in to make sure he actually did plug them in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Right.
how many, because they're labeled, but sometimes you get delirious on tour and 2 looks like 3 or whatever.
You've been out for 14 nights.
2 and 5, you looked at it upside down.
Exactly.
Yeah. You get dyslexic. It's weird things happen on the road.
Sure.
So that there's a test sequence. There's a test sound. Even so, like that minute 30 intro track where it's just
that vocal
my
cue.
dialogue.
Yeah.
He can click one button now, and that gets sent over to the audio board. Audio board makes sure that the LD can hear that through his headphones that are plugged into the audio board, and they can test all that well before the show even happens to make sure, again, that like everything is working exactly as it should. So I prioritized being there for this. I mean, even over doing gigs at home. I mean, I to be completely transparent, I went there unpaid.
Yeah.
Like, because I was like, I for myself, I have to know that this works.
Right.
It was important enough to me where I'm like, I don't care. I mean, like I'm making money on the rental, I'm making money on the programming, but like I want to know that this works.
Right. This could be
no
something...
amount of money. Like I don't care about the money.
Yeah. This is first iteration. I want to see it actually deployed.
Yeah.
And it actually functioning in a real environment.
Yeah.
And if something were to go wrong, like I want to be there to be able to fix it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that to me, that's a really good. There's so many good principles there. One about iteration of like just like getting something to a point, and I even know through our earlier conversation, like you had to make a macro change.
Oh yeah,
and you had to make some modifications to the system, and even creating that back door so that you could get into the system remotely and make
the
changes.
desktop stuff. Yeah.
Exactly, and constantly being on this road of iteration and saying, no, it's not just a complete product, it's a constantly evolving product.
Yes. Yeah.
But also it shows something to what you were talking about earlier about the personalized side of things, of like it's matte forward
Yeah.
and not just Firebreak, because
Mhm.
even though it's a Firebreak system, it's a Firebreak built out show, it's whatever. It's like, no, my name's on it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to treat it as such. This is an extension of my reputation,
Mhm.
and I'm going to treat it with that level of seriousness, even if it costs me money, even if it costs me time,
Yeah.
loss of income from saying no to other shows.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, no, this is important because not only what it lead to,
Mhm.
but also my name is on it, and the reputation of Matt as LD matters to me.
Yeah, and even too, like we said, I had to make a little macro that could trigger the sound. That way they could test it, because I completely, I mean, I messed up. Luckily, it wasn't like a detrimental thing, but like I just didn't put a test button in there to be able to test the audio before the show. What I was doing for those 3 shows I was there was like I was going into the back end stuff into the other pages, pretty
Sure.
much, not that front UI that I'd want people to be able to stay at. And I was triggering that audio. Why that didn't, like, this is where we're always evolving and we're never perfect. I don't know why I kept missing the fact that I did not put a sound test in there, until I got a random call one day while I was at another show saying, "Hey, how do I test the audio?" And it immediately, it's like over the phone, immediately hit me. I'm like, I didn't do that. But again, I put that, the remote desktop stuff in there that way, which I am not sponsored by Helpwire, but if you ever need remote desktop stuff, use Helpwire. It's amazing. It's all web-based, but literally, I had all access granted to where literally as long as they were on Wi-Fi, that's all they had to do. They didn't have to open up any programs or
That's
select
so
any
awesome.
accept or approve pop-ups or whatever. As soon as they're on Wi-Fi, I can see it and I can hit connect and I'm in there. So I was able to use, by using the remote desktop software, I was then able to get into my lighting software on the computer that's on the road with them, create that test sound macro, put it onto his UI page. Again, that way we can get away from having to go into back end, pages and windows and all that stuff. And I mean, that way moving forward, he's set up for success.
Right.
Again, because he's not a lighting guy. Like the most lighting he's ever done has been this past 2 weeks, a week and a half so far.
Right.
So like, but again, that's where being able to find ways to, if something wrong happens, I know I can get in there quickly. All I need from them is Wi-Fi. All I need from them is to put Wi-Fi on the computer. I've put methods in there that allowed me to, if they called me and said, "Hey, we have a problem," I'm able to maintain my reputation by saying, "Hey, all right, do this," and I'm in there. It's almost like I'm right there with them.
Did you tell them on the front end of the package, saying that you had back end access to be like, hey, if something were to happen, I have created this in a way that I can come in and help as a remote assistant.
Yeah.
And I know my system. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. So short answer, yes. In talking with Sam, Jess's husband, he was a little nervous about doing the lighting stuff up front. Like he was ready to do it, but he just like we said earlier,
Not a lighting guy.
He doesn't know what he doesn't know,
right?
Until he knows it. So
hey, how do we test the audio?
Yeah. So I mean, like even like knowing like where each cable goes and all that. I mean, it was just naturally, as any of us would be, doing something kind of intricate for the first time. It was a little nerve-wracking for him.
You take it slow, you're worried that you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
You flip the switch, kind of squint your eyes.
Exactly. Yeah. So I had let him know in advance. I was like, "Hey, look, nothing should go wrong here." I found some wood, knocked it, and then we came back to the conversation. I said, if something does not seem like it's working right or whatever,
Hmm.
all I need from you is to connect this laptop to Wi-Fi.
Mm-hmm.
What that will allow me to do is immediate access into there, and I can get to everything. I
Mm-hmm.
can, if it seems like the file disappeared when you hit load and the UI that I built for you just isn't there,
Mm-hmm.
I know how to get to the backups.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of talking you through all of this and hoping you remember it, or trying to make some kind of like manual cheat sheet, like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, if this happens, do this. If this because I could make a binder full of that for you.
Sure.
Like, but I was like, without cluttering your plate, because of course he's also her husband, so like he's me helping her through VIP and
Mm-hmm.
doing other events, with her or with other crew members throughout the day.
Right.
I was like, my intent is to make you not feel like you're tied up here,
Mm-hmm.
but that if there is a problem, I'm able to get into it as quickly as possible.
Right.
Of course I didn't share this part, but I'm like, yes, that is to maintain the reputation. That is to,
Mm-hmm.
not make you feel like if something is wrong, you guys are just,
You're on your own.
yeah.
And then we're screwed for the next show.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Was that written into your contract, some sort of emergency service package? Like you have, you're like, I know it's going to work, but what if they do something completely stupid and they're just like, yeah, delete.
On this contract, no.
Okay.
Since this was the first tour
Mm-hmm.
that I had rented to, this contract was different than other contracts I've had before. So that definitely could be an element. That could be an element that I add to this style of contract moving forward. I would venture to say most contracts I intend to have moving forward are actually going to be ones with me out with the gear.
As much as possible, yeah.
Yes. So like that need for the emergency response just may not be as prevalent in that type of contract, and also may be confusing to the the person on the other side of the contract.
Sure.
Could it be? I mean, it could also be perfectly fine.
I mean, so I guess it's the same idea, or it would fall into the same idea if they damage the.
Oh, there's coverages.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's the same idea of like, hey, if you, whether through intent or through neglect, you damage this computer system.
Yeah.
Like, I can't help you.
Yeah.
Like, I can't remote fix a coffee spill. I can't remote fix, like, there are certain still physical elements that if damaged, you're without a show.
Yeah. So there's definitely a couple categories in the contract that
we'll overnight you another computer with the exact same config, but it's going to cost you buku
right.
dollars.
Yeah. There are definitely multiple segments in there that say, hey, if something is broken, like I need you to tell me what happened with it, but also like what you want me to do about getting you a replacement if you've already gone through your spare. Like, so I also send out fixtures. I send out spares. This computer, it was just one computer.
Sure.
That may be something I change in the future, but like, with the package being as small as it is, with how I knew is being packed into the data rack at the end of the night, inside of a sleeve, inside of a shock mount rack, this computer is...
It's as safe as it could be.
It's good. This computer is good.
I'm not short of physical damage from someone.
Yes.
It should be fine. But I could see where, if you started creating this really inventive package, where you're sending out systems that are autonomous, really.
Yeah.
Having a computer, that's just on standby that you can flash and then put the UI with the right code on it. Then you overnight it through FedEx and it's there in 12 hours. And it's like, we're good.
I mean, there are other ways I could do this where, instead of it being a laptop that sits on top of the 4U data rack or the 4-space data rack, I could eventually integrate it to being more like it's a Mac Mini that's inside of it.
Oh.
It never even comes out.
Right.
And then it's just, there's a plug, maybe instead of it being a laptop that comes out,
it's just a keyboard.
There's just a keyboard and a screen.
Yeah.
Or maybe a mouse and a screen or, whatever. Something that would lower the signature even more.
Right. Right. Ooh,
or even like they have the little tiny, Dell has those little tiny computers.
The
Actually,
micro ITXs.
I actually have one downstairs. I just realized that. Sometimes it's good to pick up little toys. I just realized I had one.
But just those kinds of things of like, man, how cool, even in, you had the physical iteration, you had the software iteration, but even contractually, as you grow and develop, there are new things to consider, new things to work on. And like, I mean, yes, the goal and intent is always to go out with the equipment so that you can be the head LD on site, so that I can not only use the package that we provide, but also use the house package and merge them together to create this spectacular show. But knowing that you are growing this almost sidearm of inventiveness is really cool.
So, I mean, the next thing I really need to figure out with that is just like how to advertise it as something that's not just me trying to tell you, hey, rent lights from me. Like, of course I can explain what it is, but that takes somebody stopping and listening for a second, right? Because like there is a lot involved in
listen to this podcast. Well, you get all of the details.
It just like, in being completely fair with potential clients, like it would require their patience to understand. So, that's probably the next step I've got to figure out is, okay, now I know what this looks like. How do I advertise this, right? Or do you
advertise the ALD, the autonomous LD?
Yeah.
Go see if that domain name's open.
You're right. Yeah.
ALD.
Yeah. Well, but the thing is man, I don't even know how to describe this. It's just like, it's still back-end work that's completed. It's not just something that AI built. Or,
no.
But what I mean by that is, like, there's still an LD, it's someone at least with some kind of experience that's doing that back-end work. The tricky part is, I could sell it as mine, but like my flavor of lighting may be different than a band's interpretation of what they want.
Gotcha.
Right? So then I'd have to find ways to, you can do this with AI now, where you can pick different flavors of workers.
Flavor your LD.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, it's what kind of ice cream do you want today? So, I mean, yes, there could be a method of building that up. My only fear with it, and I've made this very clear with Jess's team, her manager, all that stuff, is that, and this would have to be a generalized disclaimer with anyone going forward, is that this is only so scalable, right?
Right. This does not do a full...
This doesn't do all of
Taylor Swift show.
Yep.
It cannot.
This does not do all of it. Well, in a way it could, but it shouldn't. It shouldn't,
it shouldn't. You should still have the master LD on site, and multiple of them.
Yeah. It doesn't negate someone controlling the house.
Right.
Where the separation is the same way that the ground supported lights are, like, to the frame programmed with the music. You can get that with house lights for different cities and different rigs each night. I've done that multiple times now. You can get that. With this system, you can't.
Right.
On top, because you're giving generalized commands, and the more intricate you get with the commands, the more likely house LDs are to be like, this was too much. I can't keep up with it. It's asking more than I have available, like all that kind of stuff.
Instead of that, I could see how that become very overwhelming, especially if you have a lesser experienced.
Yeah, well, and that's my second point is, you are entirely at the mercy of the house LD actually trying, if there even is one in the first place. It's really kind of funny how this works. Smaller venues really try to nickel and dime artists or bands or whatever that come through. I don't know what their deal is, but, like, I mean, they want to charge extra for different production members to be there, and I'm like, yes, that means you're paying somebody, but, like, if you have a group that's touring that comes through, naturally those costs should be incorporated in your costs that you give to us.
Right.
Right. But now you're trying to sell us on all these packages, which should be a common. Anyway, luckily it's not many of them.
Bathrooms.
Oh, yeah.
What?
Yeah. Luckily it's not many of them, but of the ones that I have seen on some tours, I'm just kind of like, you're going to run yourself out of business. But who am I to judge? Whatever. I'm just speaking my mind. But some of those rooms won't have an LD anyway.
Right.
So you may get somebody that can go over and turn on the front light. That way the artist, the band, whatever, they're lit up.
Mm-hmm.
But they may also not fade out in between songs, adding to the end of the song, the big effect, and we're out.
Right.
And then bring it back up if they go into the next song or start speaking or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You're completely at the mercy of whatever the house has available.
You still need an LD.
Yeah.
I could see, though, there come the point where he's like, hey, if I am touring and I'm an under $50,000 a year tour or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
there could be some metric there that you come up with that says like, hey, there is my other option is no lights at all.
Yeah.
There's something now in between.
Yeah.
Between I'm going to tour because I can scrape in a tour and having a full production crew, there's now a middle ground. At least that's what it feels like to me.
Yes. It definitely, it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
100%.
Way better than nothing.
Because, I mean, like I said, I've seen, of course, been keeping up with her Instagram stories, with the other guys on this JB tour, keeping up with their stories, all that stuff, and getting to see not only different rooms and how they're lighting it, but of course seeing mine. And number one, it feels good because it's like I'm not there, but my work is.
Yes.
And seeing
your work, your lights, your business, and
and see it still like come to the same fruition that I had built it up to be weeks ago. You know, and seen with my own eyes last week. So I mean that's it's I really actually don't remember exactly where I was going with that. It's been neat to see it. This whole experience, like this is the first tour that I've been part of, but hybrid.
Right.
So like, I also feel like, oh man, I'm missing out on so much because everybody on that tour is great. Sam and Jess are amazing. Gus is amazing. Ruben, Kevin. Well, let's see if I can name all of them. Kevin,
come on, we're
Ethan,
testing.
I feel like I'm missing one. They just got their TM. I got to meet him for a day. His name is Scott. He's amazing. Larry, the driver and merch.
Come on.
I loved because he's from St. Louis, and so he wore to the Nashville show. He wore his St. Louis Blues hockey jersey that night. So I was like, all right. I wore my Predators jersey that night. So it was a fun little feud, but all of them are just like absolutely great people. Super fun to be around. I'm like, it's just weird. I'm so jealous I'm not there, but I'm also super happy that the product that we had talked about for months is doing exactly what it intended to do, and of course I knew I wasn't going to be there for for 4 of the 5 weeks. I already knew that. It's still just, I wish I could have been.
Right. It would just be fun.
Yeah. But like, it's been neat to see this style of lighting work.
Right.
Because like I said, I'd only seen this done one other time, and I remembered that, and I was like, that'd be like, that doesn't fit everywhere, but it could fit.
I love it. I love the experimentation and the like bridging new grounds of possibility. Like that's phenomenal. Like even if it's a 1-off or a 2-off or whatever, like just to know that it's possible.
Yeah.
Who knows in a decade from now that you have this one career instance where it's like, I need to build out this like hybrid autonomous system that can do this really cool thing. There'll be better tools then, there'll be better integrations then, and you'll be able to like, no, I'm going to take this idea and I'm going to do this really cool thing with it, and I have practice with it.
Yeah. Well, and even with it too, like maybe, on tours that I'm on in the future, if I'm out with my own whether it's actually it wouldn't matter whether I'm out with my own equipment or another company's equipment. Let's say if we needed even larger stuff, like, I mean, yes, I can support a lot right now, but like, I can't support an Eras tour,
Yeah.
but that's quite drastic, but
Sure.
but maybe that could be something I could work in with like opening bands, because basically what the door that could open. Oh, okay. I'm getting this in real time right
Let's
now.
do it.
This is kind of cool. The door that could open for opening for supporting bands is they, if they could pay for an LD to be on the road with them, they would. If they could pay for them to have their own lights, they would. They probably don't have much money for that available expense, if any at all, all that stuff. But if they wanted to buy in to some of the rental, like maybe a quarter or an eighth, or because let's say I don't use all the rig. Let's say I only use half the rig that I have available to myself.
Right.
Use half the rig or less. They buy in to half of that half, and I am able to program that half of the ground fixtures, and then do the verbal cues and let the house LD run it. But now they get a visual element.
Right.
That could do quite a bit. I have some people to talk to.
Real time.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. But
so what do you hope to see? I mean, in the last so we're about to hit up the first quarter of the year, and so that means 25% done, 75% left.
Yeah.
Like, are we increasing our tours, increasing our show count, increasing our bottom line? Like, where are we going, Matt, for the rest of the year in regards to your brand, Matt LD, or Firebreak?
Yeah. So definitely looking to be a bit more plugged in with tours this year. I've already, pretty much set again to go back out with Demon Hunter later this year, around September, is when we'll start. I've got another couple tours kind of potentially in the pipeline. I'm actually waiting to confirm one.
Come on.
Right now. That'd be end of the month, or starting at the end of the month, and that'd be 9 weeks out. They've already. It's funny though, because the people I'm talking to about that tour are with another production company who are already set to rent the lights to them. So in that scenario, it's just me, Matt LD.
Yeah.
Which like I'm totally fine with too, because I'm still getting to build relationships with other production companies, which helps me. But like even with the Demon Hunter stuff, like we rented from another company last year. And while that company is great, I completely support and have rented and will rent from them again in the future. Like they're amazing. As far as the opportunities I as Firebreak can provide, I can meet budgets a little bit better.
Sure.
Sometimes, not always. And it's also, I'll be fair. I'm not one of the larger production companies in town, so like I may not have everything somebody wants.
Right.
So like there are still variables to play in that, but like I can at least, because of my deliberate interest and the trust I've built with those people, I can either help guide them to exactly what it is they're looking for, not just telling them, hey, this is what you need. Or this is what you want, I can kind of move actually in that direction of, hey, if you're telling me this is what you want, I can tell you this is what you need.
Yeah.
Maybe I have some of it, maybe I have all of it, maybe I have none of it. But it's still all based on that trust of you tell me, you're telling me this is what you want. Okay, I can help you get what you need. And actually following through with
is
that,
that
of course.
part of your brand, that consulting side of things, or is that something different, or is that something you're hoping to enhance or explore, or is that just as you're talking about it, like you see that developing?
Well, I've done a little bit of consulting.
Okay.
So for instance, that same company that we rented with for Demon Hunter last year,
yeah,
my company has rented from them A few times.
Okay.
A couple or a few times.
Okay.
Great relationship. I know a lot of the people there personally. I actually did a little bit of work there back in beginning of 2023. So that gave me a good appreciation for the quality that they're able to provide.
Yeah.
And also just the general knowledge of like, okay, this is how they run things. So I know if I ask for something, this is what I'm going to get. But it also helped me understand for my company, okay, I feel like what they showed me was right. So I'm going to set my principles and my routine around that being right.
Mm-hmm.
I know what the QC. I know what I want my QC to look like. My quality control. I know what my labeling. I know what I want that to look like.
Mm-hmm.
And then just of course the general conversation of okay, we'll send out 5% of whatever you have, minimum 5% spare of each fixture type that you take out. That way, if or 5% or 10% or whatever the variable is,
sure,
or the number. But anyway, so I've delved into a little bit of the consulting stuff. Nice thing is sometimes I'm able to scoop a little bit off the top just for being that middleman.
Yeah.
And then other times not. But those relationships I get out of it are still very important.
Yeah.
And
It's
have
still a
led me
representation of who you are is like, hey, I recommend this. I suggest this. And they're like, oh, that went really, really well.
Yeah. So, I definitely for 2025, I definitely looking to push more rentals as always, but
Come
like
on, more rentals.
Yeah. Well, especially like getting to see this come to fruition. And like, again, while I wish I could be there with them, I'm at home and making money.
Yeah.
So, and that was one of the main things I wanted to have this company for.
You brought it up in our last conversation.
Exactly. And it's like, it's just, it's nice.
Being on tour is amazing. And you've talked to a lot about how much you've loved it, stuff like that. And then also earlier you're talking about like, it's nice just to have a few days off.
Yes.
And be home.
Yeah.
And have a regular sleep schedule.
Yeah.
And like,
that's true.
Whatever.
It's very true.
Both are valid.
Yeah.
And it's like, for other people that have, other mainstream jobs or whatever, like this is your equivalent to a salary.
Yeah.
It's like whether you're quote unquote working or not working, it's still producing. Your name is still increasing. Your brand is still growing. You're like, it's a touch point. It's a growth point. It's an income source that is still moving, whether you're sitting there babysitting it or not.
Yeah. It's it's interesting seeing how I'm being able to start working towards the rewarding side of the business.
Yeah.
And its operation rather than only stuck in the development stages.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Don't get me wrong. I'm looking to develop quite a bit, but like, actually getting to see this, like I've done rentals where I'm the one operating. So I know what that whole flow looks like. I get the rental, the invoiced and all that stuff. Like, that's great. But actually seeing my stuff out in the wild, so to speak, seeing it work the exact way that it's supposed to, knowing that that's my programming, just seeing the company represent itself the way it is currently, it's very rewarding. But it's also the biggest like push for like, okay, this is just the beginning. I mean, I'm still just in the beginning. You know?
Where you just hit 2-year anniversary of being
yes,
official
last
company?
month.
Okay,
last month was 2 years.
Oh man,
it's weird, right? How quick time goes by. And it's been eye-opening to see, okay, when I put this much effort into my business, this is the kind of result I can get out of it. Right? Because again, my approach much earlier on was like, hey, I've got this company, it can do this for you.
Yep.
Holding up I mean, not literally, but
pretty
figuratively
close.
holding up signs on street corners. To where now I'm like, yeah, I much rather have a relationship with have a professional relationship with a person, and then be able to share through our interests what I could do to make their interests that much bigger.
Yeah.
The connection that's able to provide is,
I think,
huge.
That shows such a maturing process. And I don't know exactly your process of like you talked about earlier how your unique ability to be able to like reflect on conversations and be able to reflect on self-learning and, all those different things. Like, I think that absolutely plays into it, but there's something to that iteration process and that self-critical process where it's like, hey, how did I do this well? How did I not do it well? What can I improve? Where can I go?
Yeah.
But as you were talking, there's something to, is like, there's so much less high stakes energy in the conversation
Yeah.
that I remember, it's like, please rent my stuff.
Yeah.
Like, that's where we started.
That's what I'm saying in the back of my head. Yeah.
Rent his stuff, people. It's good stuff. But when you come relational first,
Mhm.
it feels so less high stakes, where it's just like, please, oh please, oh please, oh please, oh please.
Yeah.
And it's just like, hey, I got this really cool thing. I'm going to work for you, but I also have this really cool thing. And something that's really been forming in my own life, in my own mental thinking processes, is longevity. And as I think more in a longevity mindset of 5 years and 10 years, is like, hey, I don't have to think limited 1 year in my professional relationship or in my product development or anything like that, because that then puts so much pressure on. I have to get it right now.
Oh, yeah.
I have to make that sale right now because I need that payout or I need that relationship. But if I think of like, you know what, this is a piece to the grander puzzle that I am building over the next decade.
Yeah.
It feels so much more comfortable. And I feel like the energy that we bring to the conversation with other people displays that.
Yeah.
So that when I have the conversation, it's like, hey, I really want to work for you. It doesn't feel like if it doesn't happen now, everything collapses.
Right.
It's like, I really want to work for you and with you.
Yeah.
And if it's in 5 years, I'm still going to be around and I'd still love to work with you.
It's neat to see how when someone feels like you're excited about what they're excited about, they'll then turn around and be excited about what you're excited about.
Yeah.
Right. So like, there's the feeding off each other's energy or whatever you want to call that. But like, I mean, it's real. When people feel like you take as seriously something that they take seriously, a lot of times that builds a potentially even a subconscious respect where they're like, okay, well, if you're scratching my back, well, then I should scratch yours too. And a lot of that has the capability of carrying over to, hey, I've also got this company that can do this. If you wanted to, we could continue that conversation or whatever. But at that point, they know that like I'm willing to put forth more of my not only expertise but also more of a representation of me on the line for you.
Yeah.
Right. So like at this point, there's more. I'm willing to bear more weight if you're willing to give it to me.
Well, and it's not obligation or manipulation. It's really desire. It's it's like, hey, I want to see you do like freaking well because you're just awesome. I love working with you. I love what your company represents. I love how we're able to just like jive so well and produce an incredible show, because that's what we're here to do. We want to create big shows.
Yeah.
Now there's all these other details on the back end, but we want to create an epic experience for our listener. And when that, I mean, yes, I would agree. It's the, you scratch my back, I scratch yours, but it's not nasty.
Yeah.
It's not the manipulative, crazy. No, it's just like out of relationship. When I see you win and you turn around and see me win, we look at each other and like, we're freaking winning.
Yeah.
Let's do that more. How can I help you? How can you help me? And it's not icky. It doesn't have to be icky. Like,
I think too, when you, again, because there is enough people that make that whole dog eat dog work type that keep it relevant. Yeah. I feel like as soon as somebody feels like, okay, they're not that, their ability to invest in you is like way more, because they're like, okay, they like what I like. They're willing to build onto what I like. At the same time, as long as you're not adding pressure to the conversation, right? They don't feel like you have to comply to what it is that I'm asking for, right?
Mhm.
Like it's very much like the whole conversation just it needs to be that give and take the whole time. Or
Mhm.
really it just needs to be give within reason, of course, within respectable and professional reason.
Yeah.
But like I just the biggest thing I've seen is when other people see you're as interested in their thing as they are,
Mhm.
they're more likely to hear you out.
Yeah.
That's why I've shifted um a lot of how I approach introducing my business to people is I'm interested in lighting. I
Mhm.
love lighting.
Yeah.
I love doing concerts. I love all that stuff. On top of that, I've got toys in a storage unit
Mhm.
that I like to play with.
Yeah.
Those toys could make you look that much bigger
Mhm.
on stage, like, you know. And if you don't want them, that's fine. I still love lighting, you know?
Exactly.
You're
Exactly.
not
And
scaring me away.
exactly. And that feels that feels so much more comfortable and less high stakes.
And even for me, I feel less pressure
Yeah.
because I know exactly why I'm introducing that stuff is because I enjoy doing this.
I love doing this thing. Love
Yeah.
it with me.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
That's literally it. Did that answer your 2025 question? I don't know.
I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
I'm not exactly 100% sure, but I'm going to just say yes.
Too easy.
If we meet again in a year from now and we record episode number 3, what question do you hope that we answer in this next year?
Whoa. Whoa. I don't know. I mean, just like,
Did I get the gig? Did I grow to this size company? Did Firebreak hit this record?
did you stay principled?
Do you have any more to go along with that? What does that mean?
I mean, like, I know what my intent with my company is and how, like for me, what the intent is. Like, sure, it's a piece of the retirement plan. It's a piece of,
Yeah.
it's a piece of opportunity. It's a piece of, growth and experience and professionalism and all this stuff. But like, just like anything else, it could go downhill, right? Or how you represent yourself can be either you could misrepresent yourself or it could be completely misconstrued,
Mm-hmm.
right? If the end all be all is to help people make shows bigger,
Mm-hmm.
is that exactly what I did? Or did I try to get the gig and get the contract just because of the money, or or just get enough of the rig
Yeah.
programmed and all this stuff? Like, did I meet expectations? Did I go beyond expectations? Honestly, because that should always be a piece of it. Did I do right by my clients by how much was charged, how much, how well I took care of the lights beforehand before they were in their hands?
Mm-hmm.
There are other companies people could go with. Did I give somebody a good reason to stick with me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think.
Well, let's see in a year
Yeah.
if we answer those questions.
Yeah.
Did we
If I say no to my own like high stakes question like that, that's me.
did we stay principled? No.
We kind of veered off.
But we made a boatload of money.
You will not believe the net this year.
Matt, thank you for coming on the show today and sharing with us your journey over this last 12 months.
Absolutely.
And I'm just having listened to our previous episode today to where we are now.
Yeah.
Like the perspective, the maturity, the growth and the new opportunities and the willingness to let it mold and evolve is, I think, why you are going to be successful as an entrepreneur. Because those people who are just like, this is my lane, and I know in an arrogant way, this is how it will play out. And this is the people who cannot change are the people that are going to be sidelined by something else, and they're going to just be taken out, and they're not going to be able to recover. But you're evolving, trying new things, doing new opportunities, developing new thought processes and technology and the ways of operating. Like, that's really cool to see. And I'm excited to see where 2026
Me too.
ends up. So thanks for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me.